Hello, everyone. I am Sophia Ring, SP Saturn the 7th, and you are watching Anime Egotists. Enjoy!
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where none of us would avoid a Maka chop.
No.
To be honest, I probably wouldn't even see it coming.
Yeah, that is sad but true. My name's Alex, and I don't think I know what souls taste like, but I'm willing to bet it's white flavored Powerade.
Well, I mean, it seems like they all kind of described it slightly differently, so I think it's based on who's eating the soul. So that's what it would taste like to you. And I'm Richard.
That's correct. And we are joined, it's been a minute, we are joined by the man, the myth, well, actually, I think he's a myth because still don't think he's real, ToonZ N GoonZ.
What's going on, ladies and gents? It's ToonZ N GoonZ, and from what I've heard, they taste like green apple lifesaver gummies. So, do with that information as you will.
Yeah, Soul seems to say they don't taste like anything, but he likes the way they feel going down his throat. We're not touching that.
Sus.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of Soul Eater references in this video already, and that's because we all just got done rewatching it. And considering everybody seems to enjoy Soul Eater and compare it to Fire Force and a whole lot of other shows, we figured, instead of me just handling a review by myself, let's get everybody involved with this to talk about Soul Eater and its, let's just say the interesting markets left.
Exactly. It's one of those that had the potential to be one of the biggest animes of its era, and I don't know why, but it just never quite hit the same grounds as, say, Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece.
All right, ToonZ, Jay, you seem to have an interesting take on Soul Eater, so do you want to say anything before we just jump into it?
Okay, so I want to preface. I'm going to preface what I'm about to say with. How do I preface this without making the weebs mad before we even get into it? The show isn't bad as a whole. The show actually offers a lot of great things. It's when you really start going into the little nitty-gritty portions of it that it starts to
Yeah. Should we just get into it and start talking about it?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, so a sound soul dwells within a sound mind and a sound body. Get used to hearing that because you hear it at the start of basically every single episode.
Oh, no, it's not even basically. It's every single episode.
I know.
Even before they go into the recap, they do that every single episode.
Yes. Sorry, Richard, go ahead, please, I guess.
I was going to say that, and they even say it a few times throughout the regular, just in random scenes and episodes when they need to. That's the inspirational thing.
Yeah, I guess.
And it's always Maka that says it every time.
And speaking of which, you'd think for a show called Soul Eater Evans would be the main character. He's not. Technically, it's Maka Allbarn. These two are, let's just say, polar opposites. Maka likes to study, Soul likes to not. Soul is very laid back while Maka's kind of strict. It's an interesting dynamic between these two. Which I will say, I do love these two. Their dynamic friendship, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
I don't know. Soul and Maka's relationship is very. Not once throughout the show did I get anything more than like a brother-sister vibe. Like,
okay, I didn't say there was any more than that.
No, like that's what I'm saying. Like they have a good relationship because that's what you get, even from episode 1 all the way through to the very end. Like they're just like, oh, they're a brother and sister, or they're like, oh, they're two friends that have known each other since like kindergarten, and they're just so chill with each other up to the point where it's like, nah, man, that's just, I know who she is. I've seen her at her most vulnerable. I know exactly why I would never be attracted to her.
I was going to say, and I know that she has fat ankles because he points that out a little more than I would if I was friends with Maka.
That's fair.
Yeah. but they're basically a weapon and a Meister. Soul is a weapon. So for those of you who don't know, and how do you not at this point, there are people in Soul Eater who can transform into weapons, and those weapons can take people's souls. There are good souls and there are bad souls, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So I guess we're also shortly introduced to our two sets of side characters in the Death Trio and Black Star, and I always forget her name.
Tsubaki.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Which is so easy to forget, because even though she is quite literally the most competent out of all of the main and side characters, they continually treat her like an afterthought. I don't care. That is one of my arguments. Tsubaki is literally the most competent. Until you start talking about the professionals, out of all of the students, Tsubaki is the most competent out of all of them.
She's also apparently the most perverted, so do with that
course.
Information what you will.
I mean, I can see that. I mean, obviously, the one that's the most mature and the most like, hey, we need to do what's common and what makes common sense would be the one that's like,
yeah.
hey.
But Tsubaki is also incredibly kind and friendly, always looking out for people, very much like a big sister to the rest of the cast, which makes sense that she gets put with Black Star.
Yeah. This is
Richard, you want to take this one?
Yeah, this is the character that when he's the main focus of an episode, I'm usually not paying any attention, because he's very hyperactive is kind of the best way to describe him, and it gets very annoying when he's constantly shouting about. It's kind of like early Asta, where he's always shouting about wanting to. In this case, it's I'm going to surpass death.
Yeah, well, surpass God. But okay, first of all, I have to call you out, because I feel like even early on, Asta was shown to have a good set of morals and listen to people. Black Star's not really that, which I will say, throughout the series, Black Star grew on me to the point where I kind of love to hate the guy. But like it gets to be a lot, especially early on.
Yeah, it's those first episodes where he's the main focus is particularly hard to get through.
Yeah. But at the same time, you also get that he is very loyal to Tsubaki, and we even see that later on.
Mm-hmm.
He cares a lot about Tsubaki, even if he's not always the best at showing it, which is always a plus. And it's also at this point we learn that when a weapon takes a soul, it gets a little bit of a boost. And once you get to 100 souls and a witch soul, then you can become what's called a death sight. And Soul and Maka almost accomplished that when they fight Blair. Now, some of you realize we've done Soul Eater videos before, but we've never mentioned Blair. And now we've mentioned her. Look, I'm sorry, there's just not that much to her besides being the fan service.
And don't forget, pumpkin, pumpkin.
And that's the only Soul Eater song I want to hear in this.
Oh, it's not going to be the only one.
Speaking of, look, we have our beef with Soul Eater at times. The opening is fantastic.
Oh, facts.
Yeah.
Even with Netflix not having a skip intro button for said anime, which is so weird. Out of all the anime, why would they not have one for that? I'm perfectly fine with sitting through it, because it's hype. And like it is one of those ones that like it doesn't change from start to finish, and it just consistently hype every time you hear it. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know what they're saying, but I still vibe with it.
It just feels so much like Soul Eater. Like there's a spooky kind of scaredness to it, but there's something also kind of, I don't know, there's something kind of heroic about it when you see the characters beating up on enemies and then eating apples that Maka makes for them. See, does she just cook for everybody some days?
Pretty much. I think that's the like going trend that I've noticed, is that she's like the mom of the group, basically, where like she's like, have you guys eaten? Well, come over later. I'll cook for all of us.
Maka, Richard pushed me down the stairs.
Richard, how could you do such a thing? That's not nice. How could you? What if he were to get hurt?
He had it coming? Okay, that's fair, but still.
can't believe you brought in our own characters for this.
Yeah, but regardless, Soul is a scythe and Tsubaki are. I'm sorry, I still don't know the proper term for these. Does somebody have the name of these? They're like size, nunchucks, whatever the hell they are.
They're like a mixture.
Yeah.
That much I know is like they're a mixture of the two.
I don't know, because she also has the ability to Tsubaki also has the ability to transform, and no, I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name. I'm sorry, it's too much work.
Weapon, demon weapon, created. It doesn't say.
Well, regardless, she has the ability to transform, which once again kind of shows she's the most competent, and they do much with her? Not particularly. Like, for example, they have chain scythe, shuriken, ninja sword, uncanny sword, and smoke bomb. So yeah, she has a lot.
And she even has the death something. It's some kind of like assassin mode, I think it's called, is what
Something like that.
Death Star calls it.
And Black Star is also the last of his clan. If everybody else is exactly like Black Star, I think I know why most of them died out. But they're not the only characters left, are there?
No. We also get introduced to Death the Kid and
Okay. Death the Kid. What did you guys think of? What do you guys think of Kid? Is he your favorite character like everybody else?
Oh, he's easily one of, if not. I don't know if I'd put him on par to say my favorite out of the characters, but he's definitely in the top 5 of my favorite.
Yeah, he's the son of the Grim Reaper, and he has a particular quirk, doesn't he, Richard?
Yes, everything must be perfectly symmetrical and balanced.
Despite the fact that nothing about him is symmetrical or balanced.
That's the funniest thing about it. Is like, and it gets brought up later in the show. Like, hey, you want everything to be symmetrical and balanced, but your hair isn't your hair. It's not. It doesn't do the thing. And he has a very literal like breakdown about it. And he's like, man, I'm imperfect. Ah! And I think he tried to take it out on the monster that they were fighting.
He even once says, I should just give up at this point and die. And one of his weapons says, hurry up and die already. That's right. Kid has 2 weapons who are pistols.
Because in a world where everybody else had knives and scythes and shit, the son of death himself says, fuck you, I got a gun.
2 of them, and oh boy, Richard, you got this, buddy.
I love them both. I do.
The Thompson sisters, Liz and Patty.
I love that. I love them so much. I think the creator of this show was literally like, we need American representation. Let's make the guns them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Oh God.
Yeah. And Liz is very typical teenager, would rather be out reading a magazine or doing anything else other than what they're doing. But she's also terrified of ghosts, which in a show like this, you probably shouldn't be. But she can also be very level-headed at times compared to Patty.
Your best friend.
Yeah, Patty is kind of insane. I really don't know how to phrase it, but she's very much half like dim-witted 10-year-old kid and half complete psycho who would mess you up if you blinked at her funny. This trio, in my opinion, probably are my favorites to follow, even though I've said a million times, I don't know why I like Patty as much as I do. Kid, I really like him, but I think it's a case of, oh boy, I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible. A lot of people like Kid for, let's just say certain reasons. But they all go to an academy hosted by the Grim Reaper, who is, honestly, he might have been my favorite character. I love how he's so happy and jovial when he looks the way he does. I think he actually is my favorite character, Lord Death.
Which, let's confirm this right here and now. Within the canon of the show, Lord Death himself has said the reason that he does that is because if I'm going to be the headmaster of the school, one, I need to change my looks as to not scare the children, and two, I need to change my voice as to not scare the children. We get moments where we peek behind the curtain of Lord Death, and his voice and his look are nothing like what we see in the show, because his voice is, "Wrong, I am Lord Death," and like it's very like gruff and like even like monstrous is what you would expect of a death. You would expect that versus the very light and fluffy and almost comical to a point.
Or the Jamaican stylings of Billy and Mandy, because yeah, the Grim Reaper was Jamaican.
Which I don't understand it. I still don't understand why he was Jamaican.
Yeah, well, why not? But they all go to a school together where they basically learn how to fight people like witches and witches, demons, that sort of thing. We also learned that Maka's dad works at this school, and to say he's the opposite of Maka is kind of an understatement.
Kinda, it's very much an understatement.
Yeah. He's very animated and apparently a bit too much of a ladies' man, which is why him and Maka's mom divorced. But ultimately, I could never bring myself to hate this guy. He's just too much. He's too much fun on screen, and you can tell he legitimately wants to make things right with Maka, which sadly the show never really does a good job of capturing that they are getting closer.
I will say though, there was a moment near the end where she gets a book. And I'm almost positive he got the book for her. I can't remember exactly, but I'm almost 100% positive that he had gotten the book for her. And there was a moment she's on the balcony looking at the book, and it's just like, okay. And then, like, of course, they leave it very open-ended. We don't get to see the resolution of the two of them as a father-daughter pairing. But I would like to think that is a good lead in to what inevitably becomes.
Yeah, it's just sad that we never really learned that much about Maka's mom. Would they tell us things about Maka's mom, but they don't show that much. It's kind of disappointing for a character who Maka keeps going like, "Oh my god, my mom's the best. Oh my god, my mom's my hero. Oh my god, my mom died for our sins. What are you gonna do, Dad?"
Like, truthfully though, that is absolutely how she acts.
Richard, you're the smart one. Are we wrong on this assessment?
No, not at all. Because we know she's out in the world because we get the whole postcard little storyline that is both loved and hated, I guess. I really don't know, but it's like the only interaction between Maka and her mom in the entire series.
Oh, I get it. They canceled the show Postcards from Buster to do Postcards from Maka's mom, and it just fell flat, I guess. I don't get it.
It was canceled after episode 1.
Yeah. Well, hey, Buster was the best character, so I was one of the best characters, so I was upset. Regardless, one of the things the show does really well is the style. You can really tell the people on the show did a really good job of adapting the manga just in terms of this is what the characters are like. This is what the art style is like. Everything has a very spooky yet kind of lighthearted feel to it. It's a really good balance early on, and I can understand why people would get so hooked early on.
And I also will say, I think the art style, when you look at like what other animes were coming out in that time in the early 2000s, you got to really look at it and say like, dang, this was a unique art style compared to what it was going up against around the time. I'm not saying it was exactly out around the same time as like Naruto, Bleach, and all of these others, but they were roughly in the same, I guess, within the same like decade. So you kind of get to see like, dang, this sits differently because its art style is serious and cartoony, almost kind of like Lord Death. And it's like you get that serious undertone even in its episodes where like you see Black Star falling off the academy and you just see like the little speck, but it still just seems like it works,
Yeah, I think so too. Anything you want to add to that, Richard?
No, that's a pretty good description of it. It's more cartoony than a lot of the animes of this era, is probably one of the best descriptions, but it works for the story they tell.
Yeah, I feel bad because I feel like Jay and I have been talking over you, which is why I want to give you the chance to talk about Professor Stein.
So this is probably my favorite character in the
Uh-huh.
series. Just his whole gimmick of pretty much being insane but controlling it is actually, in my opinion, very interesting for a character.
Yeah, but we'll talk about it more in a bit.
Yeah, I just his whole story, and from my understanding, there's a good bit more in the manga going over like his entire, like some of his history and some stuff like that. So I'm kind of interested in that stuff, but I would have to take the time to read it. But he's pretty much how I described. He's controlled insanity.
Yeah, and he offers to do tons of experiments on his students and some endangered animals, which there should probably be a jail cell for him just for that, but I guess we'll just take that with a grain of salt.
ToonZ, do you have anything on Professor Stein?
Professor Stein, and I will say this for how I always have viewed him, both within the universe, he is the best non-hero in the show, and then outside of, he is the perfect foil to a lot of the action that happened, because it is almost directly related to him and how he is, why a lot of things happen within the show.
Yeah.
So I think using him as kind of the vehicle to get to the rest of a lot of our plot points was a great idea, because of the fact that, like you said, he's that controlled insanity. How does he fit within everything else when everybody knows, like, oh, he had that lurking just beneath the surface? Can we really trust him? Can we really let him have access to the most powerful things in our universe? Excuse me. And I think that works really well because it helps push that story. Because, the kids want to trust him. From the moment they figure out who he is and they got to see what he's about, they want to trust him. But then we see spots later in the show where it's like, can we trust him?
Yeah. In all seriousness, it does kind of help that very early on he tries to teach them, you guys need to work together, because a lot of these characters are polar opposites working together. Sure, they're not going to get along at first, but they have to, because otherwise the show would completely fall apart, and it would probably end in about 3 episodes. So he does a good job of kind of demonstrating, hey, Maka, Soul, you guys need to connect with each other better. Because they have a very rough time doing that early on, to the point where Soul and Black Star want to team up. And it doesn't go well when they face Kid, because Kid kind of destroys them.
Bro, Kid put 2 good ones on top of both of their heads. And I'm not talking about gunshots. He laid them out.
Yeah, but it also leads to one of my favorite scenes, because Soul says, hey, Black Star, I don't think this is working between the two of us. I think we're going to have to break up. And Black Star's like, I understand, but do you think we could still be friends? And Soul, for being as cool and laid back as he is, gets all cartoony. He's like, yeah, of course we can be friends, you idiot. And they start running in slow to each other with some romantic undertones. And Maka's like, these two need therapy. And I'm like, Maka, everybody in this show needs therapy. Take a number. I'm telling you, that's a segment we need to do. Who? Anime characters going to therapy or couples counseling, whichever one we feel like.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, but ultimately, but very early on, it sounds like this is filler, but it actually isn't, and to some extent. And we get to see the characters grow, learn from each other. We get to see some pretty interesting quirks and dynamics between these people. And I don't know why, but I always liked the school aspect of it, because you could just kind of write it off as, oh, it's just a school, that's stupid. But I don't know, the episode's focusing on like assignments, or maybe my personal favorite episode, the test taking episode. Well, I don't know, a lot. You would think it wouldn't work, but somehow the school aspects they just have a certain charm to them that I can't really hate.
Yeah, and it kind of works because of the age of the main characters being that teenager kind of thing. Giving them a school setting gives them a chance to be teenagers instead of having to just go out and fight people. That's a lot of these animes that does dropping that part of it.
They also all have apartments and money, so they treat their students a lot better than most other schools in anime. Which, yeah, that'd be kind of insane. You know, Richard, I know you want an apartment the last year of school we were in. But full disclosure, if it had been in the Soul Eater universe, I might have jumped on with you. I might have been like, nope, we're going. Anybody else want in? But we out.
I feel that.
Yeah, but what? I know it's kind of filler, but we also have to talk about certain characters like Oxford. Look,
we can skip Oxford.
He does not get a great introduction episode because he's basically a know-it-all smart kid, but he's also kind of Maka's rival, despite the fact that it's just this episode, and everybody's taking the test together to see who can get the highest grade. And like I said, it's my favorite episode because it does a perfect job of showcasing everybody. Kid could get a perfect score, but he's too busy trying to write his name correctly. Maka's getting the perfect score. Liz is just floundering. Black Star tries and fails to cheat. And Patty makes a giraffe out of the test and then breaks its neck. Because, yeah.
Patty is weird, man.
Yeah, little bit.
You did leave off what I thought was one of your favorite moments from this episode, though, which is the very end, because Soul Eater was also attempting to cheat and got caught, but was allowed to continue.
Yeah, he got stripped of all of his answers, and right before he could actually write anything down, the clock struck 0. And the zombie teacher they have, because they have that, and he's a black man, so cool. He just says, "Oh, time's up," and everybody who failed apparently has to retake the test.
Yep.
But he has the one thing I still haven't talked about was the fact that Soul was pretty much they pinned Black Star to the chalkboard, and Soul thinks that Black Star's giving him an answer when he's just writing his name in his own blood on this chalkboard.
I feel like if he should probably pass out because he's losing a lot of blood, but at the same time, I guess it's all right. I will. I shouldn't like this moment as much as I do, but Maka's dad also tries to get her a gift for doing so well on the test. He gives the money to Blair so she can buy like a book or something, but Blair buys underwear for herself and just gives it to Maka. And of course, Maka thinks it's from her dad. And it's moments like this where I can't hate Maka because her delivery on some lines is just really, really good. She's just like, what type of dad sends her talking about her or something like this? I don't know. Something about Maka always got a chuckle out of me in moments like this.
Well,
but I guess we also have to start getting to a little more of the plot because, they meet somebody. This is where they meet Krona, correct?
I believe so. Yeah, roughly. But before we really deep dive into the plot, I just want to take a moment to say this. I think that's one of my big gripes about this show.
There weren't more test episodes?
No, well, yes, but it's the fact that when we hit the plot, everybody's like, cool, we're in the plot, we're good, we're making it, it's fine, whatever. And the plot gets, it feels like there's so many episodes where the plot takes a back seat to everything else that's happening. Because we get to see episodes where Maka is trying to figure out where the rest of everybody is. But then we flash over to see Professor Stein wandering within his own madness. And it's like, all right, cool, that's great. We love to see it. It's there, but at the same time, the plot. There are so many episodes where the plot feels like it gets lost, and then they jump back into the plot, and I'm like, huh?
Honestly, I kind of have the opposite problem, but I want to talk a little more before I voice that because they meet Krona, and Krona is unique. Krona is I'm just gonna call them they because their gender never gets specified. Krona's basically a very tortured child and character with their weapon Ragnarok, who I'm gonna be honest, I like Ragnarok way more.
Hmm. I don't like the bullying aspect. Like Ragnarok is a very interesting character. I feel like they do a lot of bullying.
I'm not saying I enjoy the bullying. I'm just saying there were times where some of the lines he said were especially cruel, but for some reason I'm like, that's so messed up. I'm kind of laughing at. It's like, Krona, if we get taken out by these people, you don't get dinner tonight. I'm like, how do you enforce that?
How do you get dinner at all?
That's unfortunate. But Krona's a very tortured kind of odd character. Like they'll always talk to themselves and be like, "Oh, a girl showed up. I don't know how to deal with that." Which I don't know. Krona talks to themselves a lot.
Yeah, that is very true, especially early on when we're first being introduced to them.
Yeah.
But Krona and Ragnarok mainly interact with Maka Soul, who they absolutely stomp before Stein and Maka's dad show up and stomp them back. And they also interact with Liz and Patty and Death. And we learn a little bit more about Liz and Patty's backstory. Their mother was very promiscuous and she ended up abandoning both of them, and they were criminals until kids showed up and basically saved them. It's kind of a touching moment, even though we don't learn much more about that. And when Liz is expositing about that, Patty's like, no, that wasn't at all what I wanted to talk about. I was going to ask you, is Krona a boy or a girl? I really can't tell. I'm like, oh, good, thank God someone said it, because I don't know either.
I will admit this. My very first watch through years and years ago. I don't know, something with the way that they treated Krona, I always had assumed that Krona was a boy.
Same.
But years later, I have gotten to a point where I'm like, I can't necessarily assume that because there's, again, like you said, they never specify gender and they're treated in such a way. Maybe there was dialogue that I just didn't hear, but I don't, to my knowledge, ever remember hearing any part where they say like, oh, well, he's this, or oh, well, she's that.
Yeah.
So it's
you would think all the people who write fan fiction about Krona would have an answer, but they don't seem to have one either. Regardless, look, we kind of, Richard and I kind of talked about this last time. I'm not the biggest fan of Krona. I understand Krona has been through a lot. I understand Krona can be cool at times, but to me, like, I don't feel like Krona grows enough throughout the story for me to justify saying, oh, Krona's my favorite character, or oh, Krona's the best. Like, I just kind of look at Krona and I'm like, this could have been so much better, but I don't know. I kind of just feel like I don't care at times. Am I crazy for thinking that?
Oh no, not at all. I'm gonna leave some air for Richard here, but
yeah, so the audience can start hating you instead.
Yeah. I mean, in our last video, I talked about that I enjoy Krona's backstory. I know a bit more than, or not backstory, but story overall than you do.
Yeah, but it was an honorable mention, so I'm not that crazy for calling it out.
Yeah, as I said, I still enjoy it. It's just there's not like enough to be a full kind of redemption for everything that they do, but so that's kind of where I stand. Is I enjoy Krona as a character, but
I guess I like them, but I don't love them. I mean, I guess maybe it's also just a case of Krona being shoved down my throat so much by people, but maybe that's it. But
I will say that for me and for the whole Krona thing, a lot of my issues with Krona is the fact that even from the beginning of us being introduced, they are told that they are they are damn near the second most important character, if not the most important character, that is not going to be a part of the main cast. That they are going to be the reason that our main characters have to grow and learn how to fight and learn how to be like top tier level meisters and weapon. And then Krona becomes a part of them, but then not a part of them, but then a part of them, and it's just it's so much, and it gets to a point to where it's like I don't care enough about the character, even knowing their backstory, to be invested in everything that they're trying to do.
Yeah, but Krona's not the only, let's just say, controversial character. There's an episode where Death and Blackstar have to do a report, and they both are looking for a magical weapon, and they find it, and we move on to the next episode. So the next part of the story.
No. You're not gonna do one of the memeiest characters.
We can't just move on.
No, because this character is too meme worthy. Even if he's not very liked. And I can understand, and I absolutely understand why he is not liked, why people can't stand him. I get it. Because the first 3 watch throughs that I did, I was like, oh, God, I hate him. But the more I watched him, I understood why his character was as he is. Because he is very much one of those characters that he's annoying on the surface, down deep below, but when you listen to him, because there's a moment at near the very end where they're fighting the main trio cast or fighting the big bad, and they're like, "Oh my God, the kids are in so much trouble." And he's like, "Fool! Don't you even see what's happening right now? There is so much more than what you see." Yes, Excalibur is a terrible character, but when you have moments like that, you realize oh shit, there is something more.
That's what I was going to jump into. His name is Excalibur, and he's lame. He's so lame. No, and he sings and dances and generally ruins my life.
I don't care what you say. Nobody with their own theme song is lame. If they have their own theme song,
no, he's lame. It gets to the point where I think that's when I started liking Blackstar, when he started calling Excalibur lame, because everybody I love how this is a character. In a sense, I love how this is a character who nobody likes. Like the villains and the heroes would honestly team up against Excalibur if they knew it's like, hey, look, just let's take care of him, and whatever happens after that happens.
I love him so much. And his little dance. And the cane.
Lame.
He has his own theme song. Where's your theme song?
How dare it plays at the start of these videos.
That's for the Anime Egotists. I'm talking about yours specific.
I have music, but just I'm not going to play it right now. Richard, you seem to you've brought up Excalibur a couple times to me before. Go ahead.
Yeah, y'all have pretty much described him perfectly as being the perfect annoying character that everybody in the universe hates, but he's kind of hit and miss. I understand for the regular fans of the show, some people really do not like him.
He won't shut the hell up about his stupid story.
Fool! They are not stupid stories. They are moments of wisdom that can be used to enhance one's life.
Richard, what are the things you were talking about that he has, like guidelines, or what are they called?
Yes, he has his 1,000 guidelines or something along those lines, and they are anything from not having putting a humidifier or a dehumidifier in your room to the 5-hour storytelling parties that you must participate in.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Just no. I don't want to talk about Excalibur any longer than I have to. But we also come across but the story continues, and we also learn about a woman named Medusa, and she is terrifying.
Yes, she's the I guess
Snake lady.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say all the witches seem to have a animal theme where they are represented by an animal. So Medusa's is the snake. We also have the toad and the mouse witch, or kind of the other two.
Erica Frog, my nemesis. But regardless, Medusa is a lot of villains have tragic backstories that kind of shape them, and you can understand why they do what they do, and you kind of want them to turn good in the end. Medusa is not one of those characters. She is a horrifying, vindictive, evil person, and yeah, a lot of people have trouble with her.
Yeah.
It's how to put it. She's one of those characters that you kind of expect to die early on as kind of the first big villain and then and be done, but she never goes away really until the end of the story.
Yeah, not to mention she's also Krona's mommy.
Mhm.
Yeah, she also walks around barefoot. That really bothers me. Like anytime I saw, I'm like, oh, this is weird. People on the internet like this stuff.
Yes.
All
And
right,
that's
but
all I'm gonna say about that. I'm
yeah,
not going any further into that.
yeah, but she's also incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful, and it's heavily implied she could probably destroy the school if she wanted to. But where's the fun in that? She infiltrates as a school nurse, despite the fact that I feel like people should see under that. But we also learn she's kind of funny at times when she needs to be.
All I'm saying is, if she was my school nurse, I would be there every day. I would find shit wrong with me to go see her every day. I would. I'd slam my door in the. I'd slam my finger in the car door and be like, help, help.
Yeah, yeah. But as she's infiltrating, she also comes across Erica Frog. Erica Frog, who's a witch, but she does, unlike most witches, Erica doesn't seem that maliciously evil. A lot of the witches kind of just seem like they want to live their lives, but she ends up getting roped into it by Medusa when Medusa puts snakes in her body and says, if you don't do what I say, these snakes will basically rip you apart from the inside out. So every favor you do for me, I'll remove a snake. So she's not doing great.
Look, she got roped into it. It was a very Mr. Meeseeks kind of what are you doing here? Why are you here? I'm here because he wrote me into this, and he wrote me into this, and she wrote me into this. And
there's also another character named Free who gets roped into it, who's an immortal werewolf person. And honestly, yep. I wish we got more with Free, because there's something so funny about him, because he's a villain, but he doesn't seem like that malicious of a person. And in fact, he kind of seems like just like, oh, well, she freed me, so that's why I did it. I don't know. He's kind of a dope at times. I think that's what helps.
He reminds me of pretty much like the way I like to think of him is he's Stein but doesn't control his insanity. He lets himself do whatever he wants, pretty much.
I was going to say he kind of reminds me of Android 17 being at first a villain, but ultimately you don't really sense that much badness from him. You get the feeling like if you just talk to him for 5 minutes, you probably could convince him to turn good.
Yeah, that's probably a good description.
I can see that.
But anyways, back with the plot. During the school dance, which they have to celebrate the anniversary of the academy coming through, the stuff starts to happen. Medusa tries to enact her plan of getting the Kishin demon that's underneath the school. Well, it's actually a really cool multi-parter because you get to see the main cast go through and have all these great fights between Erica, Free, and some others. The only kind of downside to it is we also meet characters named Kim, Killick Wrong. We meet all these cool side characters who sadly don't do anything at this part, or later in the show, or at the end. And Killick in particular had a really cool design for me, and he's just like, no, just we're done. We're not doing much with him.
He is the anti-death the kid, in my opinion. What I mean by that is, in a world where niggas got knives and signs and stuff, I'm running these hands.
Yeah.
His weapons are literal gauntlets, and I think they're literally called thunder and lightning. Bro, that's fire.
I thought it was fire and lightning, but I could be wrong.
I think that's right. I
Fire
know
and
something
thunder.
with lightning. There we go. Fire and thunder. That's awesome. That's awesome. You couldn't tell me what. First time I watched it, I was like, that would be my character right there. Killer Grung. Boom.
Yeah. But we also learn just more and more about how twisted Krona is. And also, a little thing we skipped over, there's this thing called black blood, which makes you more powerful, but also makes you more insane. And Soul and Maka kind of have to deal with that, because Soul has a little demon living inside of him, which look, I appreciate what they tried to do. Like, everybody has a little bit of madness in them, but we'll talk about my problems with that a little bit later. But ultimately,
so much better.
The demon in his head says, "Hey, look, use some of the black blood. You let loose some of your insanity. Otherwise, you and Maka are probably going to die." So they use some of it, and Maka is able to stand up to Krona. But say what you want about Maka, she's very kind, and she sees everything that Krona's gone through, and she tries to save him from it rather than just finishing him off.
Yeah. But we also get insane Maka at this point, which is interesting.
I'm scared. I'm still scared of her.
I honestly feel like we should have gotten insane Maka more than once. More than just that little, because it felt like they introduced it just to never use it again. It would be like if they were to have used Super Saiyan for the fight against Frieza, and then for the rest of Dragon Ball Z, we never see Super Saiyan, never see Super Saiyan 2 again. And it's like, you introduced us to this cool power that, yes, a little unhinged, but let's see.
To be fair, they did the same thing with Kaioken for about 20 years.
Okay, but Kaioken did come back eventually.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, in all honesty, it is sweet to see that Maka's not just some vicious killer. She is a multi-dimensional person who does want to help people. I don't know if I would have done the same thing. Like, hey, Krona, you were part of all. I know you got roped into this, and you didn't actually want to do this, but you did some bad stuff. I know it's all your hot mom's fault, but damn, dude, just do something. You gotta do something for me to make this better.
Yeah. I agree. I totally. As much as I'm like, yeah, I want them to, I don't know. I feel like Maka could have done so much more with what we were given in terms of that fight. Just because of the fact of she went crazy, and then they had to help her. And it's like, no, don't help her. Don't help her. Let her give into that dark side. Let us see the fallout of what happens when she gave into the madness. I want to see her have to fight Black Star. I want to see her have to fight death. Let us see it.
You're a twisted person, you know that?
Oh, very much so. And I happily will take on that role.
Yeah. But we also learn that ultimately they fail. The Kishin Ashura comes to life, and it's terrifying. They do a really good job of showcasing just the trauma it's putting these characters through. Erica in particular really sells oh my god, this thing is going to kill me. What did we do? It's a really cool scene. It's a really cool scene, and ultimately the failure really lays on Death and Black Kid and Black Star in particular, because if they had just gotten it perfectly, this whole series would have been over and we could have wrapped this up. But ultimately, the Kishin escapes, and Lord Death decides, I'm gonna have to stop that. And we learn that Lord Death is terrifying.
Oh yeah. Well, before we get into that, there is a moment when the Kishin gets introduced that to this day, it still gives me chills when I watch it. The Kishin is introduced. We see the Kishin. I don't think he did the whole skin wrap thing back around itself yet.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, that was terrifying as well. But there's a moment where he comes down in front of Erica, and Erica, you see the just fear on Erica's face, and then all of a sudden, the Kishin screams. Because we had learned up to that point that the Kishin's biggest sin was that it was afraid. and it was afraid of everything. And that's why it did what it did, because of its fear. And you see that so truly in that one particular moment. And oh my God, you get to see that scream and just the fear. This bone rattling. It's bone. I couldn't imagine what the actual like characters, voice actors were feeling in that moment. But my God, it to my core to this day, I still get chills.
To be fair, to get them to be scared, the director probably said, "Okay, just think about this line before the scream happens. Return the slab."
Oh God, absolutely not.
But we also get to one of my favorite scenes. It's such a small scene, but Erica and Free end up putting up a barrier to stop the rest of the school from helping out their classmates. And the barrier ends up dissolving, and Erica says, "Wait, Free, what's going on? You said your barrier would only hold the students for an hour, but it's stopping at only 45 minutes." And rather than Free saying something like, "Oh, well, I guess my powers aren't as strong as I thought after all this time," or "They must be stronger than these kids are stronger than I realized," Free just says, "I guess it's possible I could have over-exaggerated. I mean, I'm a man after all. We do tend to show off." I love this. I want to be best friends with this dude. I love this guy so much.
Oh yeah, he's such a, for someone that would seem like a throwaway character, he is so good, and he makes the most of his time whenever he's on TV.
Yeah.
Well, we're not on the screen.
Yeah, well, it's regardless. Yeah, and Depth and the Quiche and Ashura have a pretty intense battle, but ultimately the day is lost. The good guys end up losing this fight, and it takes its toll on them, which sadly I kind of feel like it could have stretched out a little more. But the very next episode, they get more teachers, like Lady Marie, who just wants to get married. And I'm going to be honest, I ended up liking her so much more than I thought I would. Maybe it's because we see more of her kind nature than her "I want to get married" nature. Maybe it's because the first episode we see her in, she wants to marry a toilet. There's something about her that I really like.
Yeah, but then if I remember correctly, that toilet clogs and she demands a divorce right away.
Yeah, that toilet. I love I love her, but that toilet deserved better. Anyways, we get to meet a couple of different characters, like Justin, who's this priest who's obsessed with Lord Death and always has his headphones in that are earbuds of Lord Death. When I'm not sure how he got those or where they sell them. But if anybody wants to think of if anybody ever wonders of a birthday gift for me, you now know what.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. But we learned that there are, I guess, Meister's weapons all across the globe. Really powerful ones, which sadly we don't get that much focus on. But it's also at this point where one of the things they kind of do well is that they realize, look, the kids have been through a lot. Let's look, we could worry them with all the doom and gloom of, oh my God, the Keishan got out, we have to be terrified. But there's also a moment where they're like, let's just let them have their fun while they're playing basketball, I guess.
And that was, I will say though, that was a moment that I really did appreciate. I think it was Spirit. I think it was Maka's dad, and he was talking to one of the other Meisters, and he was like, "Look, these kids have been asked to do God knows whatever, like things that some of us wouldn't even do. So let's give them a day. Seriously, just let them have their time, and we'll figure it out as best we can."
Yeah, and they play a basketball game where a punishment has to happen. If Maka's team loses, she has to hang out with her dad. But if Kid's team loses, we have to rearrange all the furniture in his room or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I never
thought like 1 inch to like the left or something.
Yeah, I never thought. And at the end of the game, when Maka's team loses, Black Star, Patty, and Soul all grab each other. They start chanting punishment, punishment, punishment. At this point, I don't know why we haven't gotten an Impractical Joker Soul Eater crossover, but I'm game for it.
That would be so funny.
Yeah, but they also run into, I'm gonna be honest, a spider lady. Yeah, this is when the show admittedly kind of starts to lose me. And Jay, you talked about how you felt like the plot kind of got sidelined at some points.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Because this part right here, when this happened, when we, okay, admittedly, it's still within the plot because the Kishin, they're looking for the Kishin, the spider lady, their whole arachnid. I think her name is Arachnid.
Lady Arachnid, something like that. I didn't care enough. I'm sorry.
Something like that. But like when you look at it within the realm of everything that's happening, I'm like, bro, what is going on? Why did we just now introduce them if we knew that Medusa and her cronies were going for the Kishin all this time ago? Why are we just now finding out who Lady Arachnid is after the Kishin has been revitalized? After the fact. Why? Because my whole thing is, truthfully, now it seems like we're adding more players to the game than we actually need.
Richard, before I go on my tirade, do you want to say something?
No, I can definitely agree with this. Arachne really kind of comes out of nowhere to, I guess, take all the to become the new main antagonist for the remainder of the series.
Yeah, because Medusa ends up dying against Stein and Spirit in an admittedly really cool fight. Probably in all honesty, my favorite fight of the whole show. Oh, and Medusa ends up kind of sort of slowly corrupting Stein and his insanity. And she wants him to work with her. I mean, could you blame him? But still, in all honesty, I've been holding this in for a while. I think I have the opposite problem, Jay, with the plot getting sidelined. I think I know why Soul Eater kind of falls flat in some areas. There are so many things that they add that just don't get focus. Oh, Maka's mom. Nope, sorry. Liz and Patty's backstory. Maybe like a tiny little mention. Lady Arachnid. Joe the coffee guy. There's so many concepts and ideas that get thrown in that just don't get that much focus. This is one of the few times where I'd say this show could have used more filler. We could have gotten the filler out of the way while still focusing on the main story, and that could have wrapped things up. With all the stories and elements they add, 51 episodes is just not enough.
Hell, even to, like you were saying with Maka's mom, we know that there are Meisters around the globe. Why was she not one of the ones that was able to get brought back in? Like, I'm not saying she should have been, but I definitely think a filler episode where we get to see Maka and Maka's mom and Maka's dad creepily on the outside trying to be like, I just want to love my daughter. I just want to love her. Like, I think that would be amazing.
Legit, Maka's dad is a better parent than Maka's mom, because at least he's around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a womanizer? Absolutely. Did he cheat? From what the story says. But at least he's still there. He's still there. And he even owns up to the fact that he was like, yeah, I was a terrible husband to your mom. But I'm trying to make things better with you because you are my daughter and I want to be there for you in your life.
He even sends her good vibes. Like, and Stein's like, what are you doing? I'm sending good vibes to Maka, so she'll do well. And Stein's like, oh, that's it? Okay, carry on. If we were going to point out every crazy thing about the people in the show, then we would be here all day. But,
True.
But yeah, so Corona's on their side now, and Ragnarok shrunk to the size of basically a small child, and he's on their side now. It sounds cool, but we'll talk a bit more about why that doesn't really work. But oh boy. This is, like I said, this is the part of the story where it kind of starts to lose me, because they also have to prepare for what is exactly what they're doing? They're trying to find some mystical artifact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh God, I know what you're talking about. It's the ultimate weapon created by one of the weapon or one of Lord Death's former allies.
Iban.
There you go.
I'm not going to pretend like that's the correct pronunciation. I kind of don't care at this point. But in all honesty, they do have some pretty cool training moments where it's like, okay, you guys know soul resonance, which is you and your partner completely syncing up as one. But now multiple groups of you need to do that with each other. And it does a good job of showcasing just how different everyone is, because Maka and Black Star aren't really getting along.
Not at all.
No.
Yeah, I really like this concept, but it's kind of weird because I feel like a lot of people kind of jump on Maka and it's like, oh well, Maka, you're the one who needs to be shaping up. You're the one who needs to be doing all this. And I'm like, look, Maka's not being perfect, but let's look at Black Star. He's as much as I like Black Star and his fights and his loyalty and stuff like that, he's a problem sometimes. And not
sometimes.
Not a lot of people acknowledge maybe this is a two-way street.
Sometimes. Sometimes.
Yeah. But they end up searching for the weapon in what I think is a pretty decent kind of mini arc. They do bring up the fact that Soul has to rely on the demon and the tuxedo inside of his soul, I guess. And we get some really cool moments, like some cool transformations and fights against a mosquito.
Yeah, he's Lady Arachnid's right-hand man, I think.
Yeah, there's also another guy who uses chainsaws, but I will say this, the characters themselves are unique, but when you have so many of them, it kind of starts to go nuts.
He was the original Chainsaw Man.
Yeah. We also learned that Ox, Killick, Kim, we also learned that a lot of them are doing stuff too, and we learned that Killick likes chocolate. That doesn't have any bearing on the plot. I just kind of wanted to bring it up.
We also learned that Killick and Ox are very competent fighters. They're very competent people to be in a mission with. So why the fuck do we just get our first and only time seeing them out in the field this one time? We don't see them. They're not even in the Kishin fight at the end of the show. Why the fuck do I give a fuck about them here then?
Because, well, to be fair, Ox got his win. He had to deal with Excalibur early on in the show and decide, nope, not dealing with this. That was his face turn for the series.
You know what? I'll give you that one.
And that's when we hear Excalibur's song, and Ox is tortured throughout it. But yeah, the side characters are kind of. Let me put it this way: I don't think the side characters were like, oh my god, how come we can't get focus on them? It just kind of felt like, what was the point?
We don't. There's not enough time to actually get to know them. That's the problem. And we keep bringing up the other anime of this era, but I mean, Naruto had filler that let you get to know all of the rest of the Konoha 12, 11, 13, 15, 150.
Like I said, it's 14. It's 14 if you include Sai and Akamaru. And the thing is, one of these characters is actually a witch. I don't remember. I think it might be Kim, who actually is a witch. You think, oh, the idea of a witch going to the school would actually be really interesting, but no, not really. They don't focus on it. Ultimately, they fight off Mosquito. Oh, they fail to get the ultimate artifact of whatever it is they're talking about. But we also learned that here's kind of the issue for me. Krona could have been incredibly useful on this, but we learned that Krona is locked up because there's still a danger, which I understand. But at the same time, you also just kind of think, wow, Krona's doing nothing to really redeem themselves rather than write terrifying poetry that make people want to cry.
True. And then again, that's kind of the whole point, ain't it?
Yeah. We also learned that Medusa takes over the body of a little girl, and what was the point of this?
So that way we have a conflict of interest when Maka inevitably gets the opportunity to fight her again.
Yeah.
That's actually a better reason than I could come up with. Good job.
Yeah, that's the best description, because if she hurts the body, she's hurting the little girl, and Medusa will probably just move on to another one again. So
yeah. And ultimately, I like this mini arc. It does have its flaws, but I especially love how when the kids come out safe, rather than chew them out, Marie just hugs them like I'm so glad you're okay. You get a real motherly moment from her. I'm sorry, I keep bringing her up, but for some reason, I always found the moments with her to feel the most human.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I will say, out of all of the other Meisters that got introduced from around the globe, Marie always felt like the one that was like, okay, with Stein doing what Stein is doing, now we get to focus on Marie being their new sort of like mentor figure, because she really kind of stepped in when Stein went AWOL, and it was really great. Excuse me. In my opinion, it was really great. And to see her like that, and to, like you said, when everything happened, have her go, I'm so glad y'all are all right. Instead of saying, what the hell was wrong with you? You could have gotten hurt or killed. And then, I'm so glad y'all are okay.
Yeah.
Because she recognized that there was probably nothing that they could have done that would have stopped the kids from going anyway.
Yeah. They all probably got detention though. When they got back, just full disclosure.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. Let's see. And then, go ahead.
I'm trying to remember what's next, because this is where, because I will fully admit, up to this point, I was able to follow a lot of what was going on. After this is where I kind of got lost in what we were supposed to be focusing on.
Okay, I think, God. Okay, so
Isn't
after the fight,
this the point? Sorry, where Medusa makes her deal with the DWMA to so that like she gives them the weapon, and so that she can kind of just go be herself at that point.
I think so, because they end up expelling. I think they expelled the body. They expelled her from the body. The girl was okay. She ends up showing up at the DWMA and is like, look, clearly I am outsourced. I'm outmatched. There's nothing I could do that's going to be able to fix any of this. So how about this? How about this? I give you what you're looking for, and you let me go. You let me leave. I won't help do anything with anybody. I'm going to just go be safe in another part of the world, because screw this.
It's also revealed that this is where Stein kind of starts to lose me, because when they pick her up as a child, and she gets annoyed by that. It's like, oh my god, you're so cute right now. You're wearing bloomers or whatever the hell they're called. I don't have a daughter. I don't know. That's where I'm like, what the hell is happening? Look, I know it's Medusa, but like, she's still like a 6-year-old kid at this point. Maybe you should back off.
Yeah, I think I will say I thought that was funny, because it also showed that Maka's dad, yes, wants to be in Maka's life, but he kind of just wants another kid too. Like, because I could tell that if given just a normal living situation, he would be the most doting of fathers. Like, he would be the best. Like, he the girl dad. He is 100%, and he would probably be like, okay, now Maka, do you have everything that you need for class today? Like, all kinds of like, would make them lunch, would have dinner ready on the table for them, like that whole thing.
Yeah, he's also very protective, because he tells Soul not to date Maka, and Maka's like, why would I date someone like her? And he's immediately like, wait a minute, what are you saying about my daughter? Why haven't you tried to make a move on her? And I'm like, oh, Stein, not Stein, Spirit, you just inspired a lot of fan fiction on your part. You might want to stop with that. But during this, I guess we have to talk about it. We also get the final Excalibur episode. And we meet Hero. Hero is completely lame. Like, he doesn't really do anything besides just be in this episode.
Mm-hmm. And his whole personality is that he gets walked on by everybody else. He's sent to get everybody else drinks. He's not necessarily, well, I guess bullied, but bully is the right word.
I'd like to think I would do my best to be his friend, but after siding with Excalibur and beating the snot out of everybody, I'm kind of like, no, dude, screw you. Because he even peeps on the girls at one point, and he just has this scummy look on his face. It's where you know that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your race. It doesn't matter your creed. It doesn't matter. Everybody in the school hates Excalibur.
Yeah.
Patty even calls him a stupid alien, and Excalibur's like, "Want to fight?"
Yeah, and the whole reason Hero turns on Excalibur, he's able to handle all of the rules Excalibur sneezes. That's the reason that Hero ditches Excalibur, and we lose probably the most powerful duo in the entire series.
Boo frickin' who. I'm so sad about that. Listen to the sound of my voice as I weep uncontrollably over that. But in all seriousness, I appreciate how this episode did treat it as filler. Like we talked about before, filler can be a good thing. It just sort of felt like given a couple more filler episodes, like a little more time to flesh out and kind of take a break from the drama at times, it could have sold it maybe a little better. But I don't know. We also get in the preview before this Maka singing Excalibur's theme. I think that might have been my breaking point for Maka. Like, look, I always try to defend you against people like Jay and Ray and all these other people who say you're bad, but after you start singing Excalibur's song, I might have to jump. I might have to turncoat.
Excalibur.
Never.
Excalibur.
But
From the United Kingdom.
I swear to God, I'm supposed to. But look, this is kind of where Cronus starts to lose me, because we also learned that Erica sneaks into Krona's, I guess, home or cell to basically be like, hey, Medusa's still alive. You should keep doing what she says. And Krona basically is kind of spineless over it. I would have loved the scene where Krona actually stands up for themselves earlier in the show. But instead, I guess I'm sorry, I'm getting my pronouns mixed up. I apologize. Krona ends up kind of drugging Marie's drink, and it makes Stein pretty way more unstable. Well, Krona leaves, but Krona doesn't really own up that much. Krona just sort of runs away because, oh, I've made all these friends and now I'm betraying them. It's like, why don't you tell somebody before running off? And as much credit as I give her, Marie takes him. It's like, yeah, we'll help you, but you have to do something for us. You did something horrible. You have to own up to it. I'm like, thank you. Somebody said it. Somebody said it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Kishin, and it also bonds, marries, gets with Lady Arachnid, and this I don't understand the point of this.
Okay, so I will say I remember this just because my first couple watch through, same as you, I was like, I don't get how this. It's because Lady Arachnid, when she was introduced, wants to take the Kishin's power for herself.
Okay.
So, knowing what she knows about the Kishin and his whole thing is he's afraid of everything, she's like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide him a place where he's not afraid, where I'm going to comfort him, and I will make sure that he stays here. The whole time, the building that they're in is actually taking his chaotic energy as she's holding him and comforting him. The building is taking that energy and shooting it and using it against the DWMA.
Okay.
Or DMWA, I don't know.
It's DW. I appreciate that, because the whole time I'm like, I don't really understand what's going on, but maybe somebody smarter than me knows.
Oh, it's not me.
Somebody understood. But this is the point where the story really kind of starts to lose me. We kind of lose. Look, it's a dark series, but we kind of start to lose some of the humor that was around. Not that all the jokes landed, but there was kind of a sense of jovialness compared to everything we'd been seeing. And I feel like one of the last times we got that was when Kid, Liz, and Patty were searching through the desert, and Patty was complaining about the heat, which honestly, maybe we get along better than I thought, because I can't take heat either.
No, that's fair.
I don't know. I'm not going to say the story gets too dark, but it does kind of feel, pun somewhat intended, it kind of feels soulless at times.
Yeah, they definitely. This final arc is not the same as the rest of the series. That's kind of the best way of putting it. I do agree the humor kind of gets drained from the series.
Yeah, and we also see that Stein has slowly started losing it, and they do a pretty good job of showcasing just how far he's fallen, and the fact that he might end up working for Medusa. But ultimately, the final battles kind of come. They have to deal with the Kishin, they have to deal with Medusa, who's back. They have to deal with a lot of different things, and especially Lady Arachnid, who actually, no, they don't. The Kishin ends up killing a Lady Arachnid, and that's basically it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if anybody's gonna use my powers, it's gonna be me, doggone you.
Yeah, and the thing is, she had this cool power where she's like, I know everything. Soul, you burned Maka's curry and you blamed Maka for it, or something. She was able to be very intuitive like that, but you think she would see this coming, but I guess not.
Before kind of the big final battle that we'll talk about its problems in and of itself, we get Maka chasing down Krona and everybody who's going after Medusa to save Stein. It's kind of the first half of the finals arc.
Yeah, and we get get a really cool fight, and this is when Krona actually does something, albeit pretty much bleeding out by the end of it. And Ragnarok basically, even Ragnarok kind of admits, even though we're dying for you guys weren't so bad. It's a touching scene, and also it makes Maka go kind of crazy. They end up saving Stein and killing Medusa. At this point, I would never say Medusa's dead. She could pop up tomorrow, and I'd be like, yeah, I kind of saw that coming.
It could be a completely different series, and it could still be Medusa.
I'd be surprised if she showed. So I wouldn't be surprised if she showed up on ToonZ N GoonZ streams on Facebook.
So maybe you never know.
Yeah, but then the story like Toons, like you brought up before, Killick, Ox, Kim, everybody, you kind of forget they exist.
Shit, if anything, and this is for me with this for the the ending battle. For me at least, if you're gonna have the main characters get bodied left, right, center, continually bodied, you use their ultimate move, bodied again, you could at least give us a little bit of like filler time by having the side characters go into battle first. I think that would have been so interesting. We get to see, oh, the last time we saw these guys, they were trying to find weapons to stop the Kishin. Now the Kishin's here, and they're some of the ones that are running into battle to try to save everybody. Let's see what they do against the Kishin. That even the adults are like, let's not.
Heck, I thought something that would have been kind of cool because Free and Erica kind of stopped doing stuff along with, oh, that's right, Mizune. Mizune exists. She's like a mouse. She's a mouse sister. She's like 5 mouse sisters who turn into a hot lady and interact with Blair at one point.
I got $5 on Blair.
I don't want to talk about that scene.
I got $5 on Blair.
I apologize to women everywhere for that scene because
I got $1 crispy dollar.
God damn it, pal. But here's the thing. How cool would it have been where the last time they fought, they pretty much, Free and Erica, you could argue, were stronger than Kid and Black Star, or however you figure. How cool would it have been for Killick, Ox, and the others to team up and just barely scrape by beating Free and Erica? Like the main characters couldn't beat them last time, but now the side characters are doing it. That would be such a huge growth for them. And of course, Free wouldn't have to die, 1, because he's immortal, and 2, because I'm pretty sure he would be my best friend at this point. But I don't know, it could have been a cool source of look at how far even the side characters have come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But ultimately they start fighting Ashura. And Ashura is if we got a little more focus on Ashura as a character, as just a villain, I feel like Ashura could have been one of the best villains ever. But for some reason, it just doesn't fully work for me.
Yeah, I think from my understanding in the manga, it's more heavily stated that he's also a son of Death,
Yeah.
and uh, him and Kid, Kid Death, Death the Kid, whatever you call him, have a much more antagonistic, almost Sasuke and Itachi relationship in that mindset.
Yeah, I will say there was kind of a cool little mini thing going on. Like Black Star fought one of his old rivals, Mifune, who was a chivalrous samurai who always protected kids, who he was never able to beat beforehand. And we learned a little bit about Black Star's family, but not enough to the point where like you could talk that much about it. We get to see Kid, Liz, and Patty take on some powerful enemies. We get a good little bit for everybody to make me go, okay, I know this show hasn't been perfect in areas, but I'm liking these little kind of mini fights. And then the last fight, they all work together and kind of get whooped.
That's what I was saying.
And we also get the last little bits of, I was about to say Asta's story, of Soul's story, of him kind of accepting that there is chaos and madness in him, and he swallows the demon that lives inside of him and says, you're a part of me, so you're sticking with me. It's not nearly as good as Naruto hugging evil Naruto in, well, Naruto Shippuden, but it's something, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of my problem, and I know that a lot of this show is about working with the others around you to maintain your sanity, but this is another moment where it's like I feel they rely too much on Maka for it. It takes Maka coming like fully into her soul and having a chance of losing herself as well that causes Soul to be able to do everything. But it's like,
yeah, and we also learned that Maka is part weapon, because if a weapon and a Meister get busy, they make a hybrid. This I don't hate this as much as I should, but it just comes off as kind of weird.
Also, why did we find this out at the very end?
They were running out of time. Maka's like, oh, by the I got nothing. I was gonna make a joke about how Maka's writing the script, but I'm gonna be honest, dude, I got nothing. This I don't hate this ending as much as everybody else, because it ends with none of that works. Maka uses the power of courage, bravery, punches.
I think it's courage,
something like that. That it's we're getting Wizard of Oz up in here. She punches Ashura, and Ashura just stops
because Maka has, he might be made of stone because she uses the postcard. It's rock, paper, scissors.
Okay, that's what it is. Like I said, this could have been funny if instead of the punch, she does a Maka chop, and that's what finishes it. That would have at least been kind of funny. Or, I don't know, use the school that for some reason turned into a giant Megazord and just step on Ashura and be like, I'm awesome. The day is saved.
So I will say, only reason I know why the school became Megazord is because that was one of those things where I was like, this is so stupid to me. And so I learned the reasoning. And the reasoning is literally because since Death bonded his soul to the school, he can never leave that area that encompasses the, I guess, city and school. So in order for him to be able to do anything, he basically has to use the weapon or like the tool that can like create anything or have any kind of wish to make the school a movable mech, essentially.
I'm okay. Upon further explanation and some really thinking about it, I do appreciate how they only used this once, because if they kept using it, then it would be like, okay, what the hell is stopping them from just ending the show?
True.
Yeah. But ultimately, the day is saved. They play one of the ending themes. We get a little montage. The little girl goes back home to her parents, who are seemingly just happy to see her and not like, y'all could have done something about this sooner. DWMA, we'll see y'all in court. And that's basically it. I wanted to talk. I thought about watching Soul Eater not and just talking about it briefly, but I just didn't have the time and didn't feel like it. So, in one sentence, Jay, is Soul Eater the perfect best anime ever?
No,
Yeah. No. Oh, okay.
it's not. And I will say this.
Oh no, I just wanted you to say yes or no at this point.
Oh no, but I got this is my one sentence. This is my one sentence. Soul Eater is the How I Met Your Mother of anime.
Ugh.
Phenomenal show. Great characters, great callbacks, great jokes, all of it. The ending ruined it.
All right, Richard, is Soul Eater excellent? One sentence.
I would say it is beautifully done, but extremely flawed.
Okay. I guess I have to throw it at me. If it's not perfect, if it's not fantastic, is Soul Eater enjoyable? Thoroughly so. This is a show. Now, I guess getting more into it, this is a show with characters I find really interesting. The concept is great. The art style is really enjoyable. These are characters I care about and stories that I'm interested in. It just kind of trips on its own 2 feet at time. So, which is why I've said this would be perfect for a remake.
Yeah, and if you give it enough time, add filler for all the side characters that don't get anything to do besides kind of just stand there for most episodes. Yeah, I think this could be considered up there with the greats. It's just it needs more.
Yeah. But Jay, anything you want to say in terms of how I feel about Soul Eater?
Nah, I think truthfully, it is an enjoyable watch. I would put this, if somebody had never watched anime and they were like, oh my God, I want to watch some of the best anime to be able to truly get into it, I'd say for action adventure anime, this is definitely in a top 5 you should watch. Just the ending for me.
Yeah.
And some of the plot, but
yeah. But ultimately, it's flawed. But it doesn't have to. But it just because it's flawed doesn't mean it's bad. Just it's not perfect, but I still find it enjoyable.
agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody I think put it perfectly, and I want to add a little more to it. Be fierce like Maka. Be big like Black Star. Be cool like Soul. Be kind like Tsubaki. Be symmetrical like Kid. Be responsible like Liz. Be silly like Patty. Dance like Lord Death. But I want to add something to this. Be strong like Jay. Be cunning like Richard. Be charismatic like Alex. And most importantly, don't be like Excalibur. But what do you guys think? Do you guys like Soul Eater? Have you never seen it? Which I'm gonna be honest, I find that a little crazy to believe. What do you guys think? Would you like us to do more reviews like this rather than just Dragon Ball movies or Pokemon Journeys? Please let us know.
Exactly. And do you have any differing opinions about what we've talked about? Do you really enjoy Arachne? Because I don't think any of us found her to be the most interesting character.
She could have worked, but just no. And if you want more Soul Eater content, just remember, Richard and I did a video about what we would be like in the Soul Eater universe. So if you'd like to check that out, go ahead. And also check out ToonZ N GoonZ and his streaming and probably failing at Fortnite, because I feel like I don't see you win that often.
Oh yeah, no. I am the self-described best worst player at Fortnite. Well, I have 2 monikers when it comes to Fortnite. The best worst player and the world's most adequate Fortnite player.
Excellent. But anyways, guys, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow us for anything we're doing, and let us know. Be kind to each other and be kind to yourselves, and we'll see you next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
ToonZ N GoonZ, baby.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night and peace easy. Watch it, or I'll take your soul.